Hey guys, Caesar FPV from Newbie Drone, and we are extremely flattered to see that you guys are very interested in the LionBee. Don't worry, we are in the process of making it, so just give us some time to let us cook, and maybe it'll come out in the near future. For those of you that can't wait to get your toes wet with the LionBee, don't worry, we're going to be showing you how to build the OG SavageBee 1S long range with your HummingBird V4, which by the way, we flew 11 kilometers with. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's going to be in the card up here. Now, please keep in mind that this is a 1S long range drone, so please do not be flying this like your 6S 5-inch builds. This is more of a cruiser type of drone for long range. But don't worry, because our LionBee is going to have more powerful ESCs. Okay, let's go ahead and start with what you would need for this build. Let's go ahead and grab our part box, and everything will be in the description below. Alright, so we got some Newbie Drone flow motors 1202, and they are 11,420 kV, a HummingBird V4 flight controller, Newbie Drone 3D printed battery holder for the 18650. We also got some Newbie Drone Golding connectors. We got some Newbie Drone 18650 gold batteries, which are new, which are the best in the game. We got some props from Hurricane in the 3018s. Obviously, we're going to need the SavageBee frame, your antennas for your receiver, canopy, the Goober canopy, the camera that comes with the canopy, our brand new Newbie Drone Honey Dipper antenna, and the wires for the connector for the battery that are going to be using these prongs right here, these springs. We've got the capacitor as well, and the Newbie Drone GPS, which we're going to be needing because we don't want to lose this drone. That's the plug for it, and then the GPS right there. Alright, let's build this puppy. And obviously, in order to build this whole entire drone, we're going to be building it with the Newbie Drone toolkit. You got to stay strapped with the best tools in the game. Alright, to start off this build, we're going to be using the Newbie Drone SavageBee frame, and we're going to accompany it with some Newbie Drone Flow 1202 Racing Freestyle FPV Micro 11 420 motors. Quick tip about the frame, this is the back right here, you guys can see, that's where your USB goes, and if you can see right here in the motors, we have a hole right there, but nothing on the other side. So this is where the motor mounts in. So this is the top of the frame, and then this is the bottom. And then again, this is the back right here where the USB goes, and this is the front right here. Alright, let's see. Boom, look at those nice fresh new motors. Alright, so let's go ahead and install the motors. Now remember to always use the screws that come in with your frame, because not every motor company can predict what size or how thick the frame is. So always use the screws that come with the frame. And we're going to be installing them just like that. And to install these, let's go ahead and use our Newbie Drone tool, and we're going to be using a 1.5 hex. The cool thing about this toolkit is that it has everything inside. And we're going to be using a 1.5. Take out this screw. Here we go. Alright, let's go ahead and build this. We're going to be installing this one right here. And remember, you always want to go in a star sequence. You don't want to just install them all at once, and don't fully tighten it as well when it comes to applying pressure. So we do one side, now we do the other corner. So that's how we're going to do it. Make sure that the motor wires are facing towards the center of the frame for all 4 motors. Alright, now let's go and do that for all the rest of the 3 corners. Alright, now that you have finished installing your motors onto the SavageBee frame, now let's go ahead and grab the HummingBird V4 flight controller and prep it so we can install it onto the frame. So let's go ahead and be careful with it, because you don't want to break those UFL connectors, because if you do, you will be cooked. So there's one, and here's number 2. Disconnect. There you go. Alright, they're still intact and we're good to go. Alright, now let's go ahead and solder off this PH2 connector, because we're going to be using our own for the 18650 battery. So let's go ahead and solder this off with the Newbie Drone soldering iron from the toolkit. Now of course, if you're under the age of 18, be very careful and be under parental vision if you're going to be soldering, because this can definitely hurt you. So be as safe as you possibly can. There's 1, and then here's 2. Right about. Boom. Nice. Alright, so for the soldering part, I'm going to let the boss take over, because he is way faster and way better than me at doing this. So let's go ahead and swap.
What's up guys, I'm going to show you how to do the soldering. So first of all, we're going to prepare the cable. We just like cut it a little bit, chain out the silicone layer, I will just prepare one side first, and then we'll do another side later when we need it. So we're going to add some flux to the cable lead, and then we will pretend solder on. So flux can help to have the solder stick to the metal wire. That's good. Okay, and now the next step, I'm going to solder the positive wire, which is the red color, to the positive pad on the flight controller, and make sure the wire is actually going straight down to the bottoms. Okay, the positive is on, and I'm going to solder the negative, so it makes easier. See the cable? It becomes like a tripod, like a stand. Perfect. And we are going to add the capacitor. So positive to positive and negative to negative. Very, very easy. That's it.
Alright, I am back, guys. Thank you so much, Kevin, for showing us how to solder the battery leads to the board. And then now we're going to move on to the next step, which is swapping out these grommets right here. Kind of give it a little pinch. There's one. I pinch it from the bottom or the top, whichever is easier. And just pull. There you go. 2, 3, and then here's the last one, 4. Alright, now let's put in the new ones. You want to install that bigger side towards the bottom where the USB is facing, because we don't want this touching the board. So let's go ahead and pinch the short side, put it through this little hole right here. Alright, so we just finished installing all of the 4 taller grommets. So now we're going to go ahead and grab your board, grab your frame, and then this U section right here is going to be the rear end of the drone. So you're going to go ahead and grab your wires, put them right through there, and make sure the USB is facing that section right there. And it should look like this on the other side. And then now you want to go ahead and screw the front and the back, because we're going to do something else. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab our screws from the kit. And as you can see, there's a handful of screws in there. And you want to grab 2 short ones. And with those, we're going to go ahead and screw the front. And which, by the way, these are 1.5 hex. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to be soldering our motors. And these 2 screws right here are going to be holding down the flight controller. Alright, now as you can see, those 2 screws are holding down the flight controller. So now, let's go ahead and prep the motors for soldering to the board. So first, obviously, as you can see, we have the wire right here, and we have more than enough length. So in order to make it look cleaner, what we do is we grab the wire and we just twist to make it look nice. We're gonna cut right up here. Because remember, you can always cut more, but you can't cut less. And let's go ahead and strip the motor wires. And with that, I kind of just use my fingernail, because these wires are very small. There you go. And now we're gonna go ahead and tin the tips of these wires. And then now we're gonna go ahead and add some flux on the tip of these wires right here. Oh, a little bit too much. Just like that. Tin the tip, and then tin these wires right here. There's 1, there's 2, and then 3. And then now we're gonna go ahead and tin those motor pads on the flight controller. There should be a good amount right there for 1, 2, and 3. Nice. Alright, let's go ahead and grab our motor wires. Here's 1. Here's 2. And then here's 3. Now you want to go ahead and do that with the rest of the 3 corners. Alright, so we just finished soldering the motor wires to the motor pads on the flight controller. So now, remember, every time you're done soldering, since there is flux, you're going to go ahead and grab a toothbrush, some alcohol, and just give it a nice little clean and brush them like if it's your teeth. Make sure you grab 99% rubbing alcohol. Alright, so now let's go ahead and move on to the next step, and that is going to be installing your receiver antenna onto the board. So let's go ahead and install it. All you have to do is put it through the back arm. So remember, this is your back side. I'm gonna go ahead and put it through basically where the motor wire is going, and then I'm gonna go ahead and reach the top of the antenna right here. Push down slightly. There we go. And now it's in. And now let's go ahead and actually mount this in the back right arm. So we're gonna go ahead and grab it right here, put it like that. So we're gonna go ahead and actually use the super small zip tie, and we can get away with using only one. Let me go and show you. So you're gonna go ahead and grab your zip tie, and we can get away with using only one. So we're gonna put this over just like that, and then cross these two like an X over the T, and then just zip tight on the other end just like that. And there we go, we hear the clicks, and just like that. Yeah, the X is on the bottom, and the part where it zip ties down is on the top. Zip tight, nice and tight. And then you're going to cut that with some snips from the Newbie Drone toolkit. And there we go. We just zip tied this antenna with only one zip tie, but it looks like two. Alright, now that we finished installing the antenna, now we're going to go ahead and solder and install this GPS unit, because this is a long range drone and we do not want to lose it. So, as you guys can see, that this is the back right here. This GPS unit is actually going to go in the front right here, and you'll see how in a bit. For right now, let me just go and show you real quick. All we're going to need is the TX, which is this brown right here, and then we're going to get this RX, which is the yellow one, the black, which is our ground, and this 5V, which is our red. This green cable is called SEL, and this blue one is called the SDA. We're not going to be using these at all because there's going to be no use for it in this quad. So let's go ahead and cut them off just like that. Boom, there you go. We're not going to need those anymore. Now let's go ahead and just keep these four right here and go ahead and solder this on. So as you guys can see, this is going to be actually sitting on top of the battery mount, and it's going to be going straight like this into these four right here, and it's going to go right there just like that. So then let's go ahead and trim these. I'm going to get a little bit more length than we should, because we can always cut more, but we can never cut less. Alright, cool. Now let's go ahead and prep this. We're going to go ahead and tin the tip, and then we're going to tin these up here as well. And as you can see, we got red, which is 5V, we got black, which is ground, then we got yellow, which is going to be our TX, and then we got this brown, which is going to be our RX. The way I like to remember it is, remember, a yellow T-Rex. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with the 5V. So this is a very tough wire actually, so you won't be able to strip it with your hand. So the best way, and the only way to actually strip this is with a clip. You cannot do it with your fingernail. It's really hard. It's Teflon. There we go. There we go. There's another one. And we're gonna go and do that with all four. Alright, so we just finished stripping the end of the wires, and then now we're gonna go ahead and move to putting a little bit of flux on the tips, just like that. Try not to spread out the wire, because then that'll be no bueno. Let's go ahead and put flux on the pads as well. Very little. There we go. And now let's go ahead and tin those pads right there. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and tin the tip of those wires on this flat side. There's one, there's two, three, and four right there. Alright, so we got our tweezers. We clean the tip. So 5V is first, then our ground. Now it's going to do our yellow, which is going to be our TX, which is going to be the third pin starting from the top. And then our brown, which is going to be our RX. There. Don't forget to clean it up with some rubbing alcohol, 99%. Clean that off. Now let's go ahead and put this wire harness through the front left arm. And then we're going to leave it just like that because we got to do one more step. Alright, now the next step after installing the wire harness for the GPS unit is we're going to go ahead and prepare everything else on the top. We're going to grab our canopy, put this right here on the side, and keep those screws because they're going to go onto the camera, which is right here. There's a TPU mount around it, and that's how we're going to screw it in. And then we also got our VTX antenna, and it's called the Newbie Drone Honey Dipper. NewBee just actually released this brand new antenna. It's called the NewBee Honey Dipper. It's a really good antenna. It's very sturdy, and it actually has really good reception. So we're going to be slapping it on here because we want the best for long range. And we're actually going to be using a grommet as well for this to hold it onto the canopy. I'm going to grab your canopy. I'm going to grab your camera. And obviously this is the right side up right here with the letters facing correctly. You want the plug facing the bottom left when it's the lens facing away from you. That's the best way to describe it. So now we want to go ahead and put this camera right on here into the canopy. Just like that. Make sure the holes are going to be aligned. Grab a 1.5 hex. As you're screwing it in, push one side with your hand while you screw the other one. Apply pressure on the other side with your fingernail. That's going to allow the screw to make threads inside of the TPU to hold it. There you go. And just like that, we have 2 screws holding the camera. And then now, what you want to do is grab your honey dipper from NewBee. Put the UFL first. You want to go ahead and make sure that the thick side is facing away from you and the thin side is facing you. Put the UFL in there like that. It goes right through. Pop it right through. Then grab your antenna, put it through the top hole, and basically just push that grommet in here. And that should hold the antenna pretty well actually. Next, you want to go ahead and connect the UFL connector from the VTX. There you go. Heard the nice little pop. Don't forget to connect the camera, and then just push that with your fingernail. It goes right in. And then remember those 2 screws that we used to hold down the canopy? We're gonna go ahead and remove those now. There's one. Slide it off, and then here is 2. We're gonna go ahead and put on the canopy. So I like to start off with the back first. There we go. When you're installing the front, be careful with the camera lens. I like to push it all the way up. There you go. So let's go ahead and now install some longer screws that go on the side to hold the battery holder. Now let's go ahead and prepare the battery holder. So you want to go ahead and grab your golden springs from newbeedrone.com. There you go. I want to grab 2. And as you can see, there's a side that's straight and then one that has a curve to it, kind of like a spring. And you want to put that straight side directly into the battery mount from the inside, just like that. Push this down. You see it pop out a little bit, just like that. So you want it to pop out just a little bit, just like that. This is where the battery goes in. This is basically the top. You want it to look just like that. So we got as you guys can see right here, we got a negative indicator and a positive. This positive is going to be your front, and the negative is going to be the back. So let's go ahead and mount that onto the drone. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that your battery leads are coming out from the side, just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and grab the 2 longest screws that come in the kit with some nuts right there. I'm going to grab your 1.5. Alright, let's go ahead and screw this down. Since it's pretty long, it might take a while. Make sure that it goes through. There you go. And then just to make it easier, there we go. Boom. Just give that a good little twist. There we go. And then we're gonna go ahead and do that on the other side. And there we go. That's basically gonna be your battery holder right there. And then now you can go ahead and solder these 2 like that. Again, the positive is on the front, so we're gonna route it on the front just like that. And then we're gonna actually be soldering it right here on the very tip of that little extrusion of the spring. So we're gonna want to cut it. Remember to trim your wires just like that. That's gonna be just the right length. There we go. And now let's go ahead and trim them. There we go. Let's go ahead and put some flux on. The back is gonna be right here. Put a little bit of flux. Tip of the wire, a little bit of flux. There we go. Go ahead and grab our nice hot and ready soldering iron from the NewBee toolkit. There we go. Now that we've tinned the top, now let's go ahead and do the same thing for the battery terminals. Now let's go to do it on the front side. And the same thing on the other side. Here we go. Now let's go ahead and grab our wire. We've bent the wire to the correct shape. There we go. Melt it right on there. Just like I wanted it. Now let's do the same thing for the positive side. There we go. Nice. Let's go ahead and do the final step on the hardware side, which is installing the GPS unit, as you can see right here. Now this side that says Newbie drone, that's going to be the antenna that's going to be facing towards the sky, pointing at those satellites. Put your GPS unit right here. Grab a nice rubber band. Put it on those hooks that we 3D printed on the battery mount. Once you have that, do an X, just like that. And just for safety, we're going to go ahead and do a few more rubber bands. So now that's going to be holding your GPS, as you can see. It's nice and solid in there. Now let's plug it in. Boom. Now let's go ahead and plug in a battery. And here's actually a really cool thing that I like about the HummingBird V4. Let's say I got a battery. Let's say for whatever reason I'm talking to a friend, and here is the positive side, and here is the negative side. I reverse plug it in without paying attention. Oh my gosh, no magic smoke. Now if that happens, obviously, if your drone doesn't turn on, it's because we put some reverse protection. So that way you do not smoke out a board. There's no such thing as reverse plug-in. That doesn't exist anymore with the HummingBird V4. Get it, flip it right side up, boom, we're back to powered on. Load up Betaflight on your computer, then plug in your drone. Once you see the computer recognize the flight controller, you want to go ahead and click on the firmware. You want to click local. Make sure you download this firmware from the website. We're going to leave a link down in the description below. The reason why we're actually flashing the firmware is because this drone is coming with GPS, and usually the HummingBird does not. So once you flash this firmware onto this board after building the drone, you should be all good to go. So now let's go ahead and flash the firmware. Alright, it's erasing the old firmware right now, as you can see. Once the firmware has been successful and flashed, then you want to go ahead and connect it. So we're going to go ahead and close that tab right there. Now that you are in the Betaflight settings, first thing that I always do is calibrate the accelerometer. And you always, of course, try to keep the drone as flat as possible. There you go. Now the drone is fully leveled and the calibration period is done. You want to go down to the CLI tab, and you want to go ahead and click load from file, and that is the file that you downloaded from our website. Go ahead and click open, click execute, and then once you see everything pop up, you want to go ahead and click right there in the command save to make sure all those settings save, and then you click enter. Once you have clicked enter, you want to go ahead and click connect again, and you want to go down to your fail safe tab. You want to make sure that everything is working, all those numbers are correct. And then another thing you want to go ahead and check for is your GPS. If you see it in color red, that means that it is working. And then you want to go to your modes tab, go to your GPS rescue, and you want to make sure that you set up a switch for your GPS to actually work, because if you don't, it will not work. Then you want to go to your OSD, put any information you want. This is the information we currently put because we think it's pretty valuable. And that's it. So one thing that I highly recommend that you do before you do a long range flight is do a quick pre-test flight of your GPS return to home feature. So I want to go ahead and just do a quick flight, maybe 10, 20, 30 feet away, and just flip the switch and make sure that your GPS rescue actually works and your drone comes back. Because if not, it will not come back, and we do not want that to happen. We want your drone to come back safely. So if you want to go ahead and switch the motor direction on your drone, so currently in our current condition, it's motor 3 that does not want to spin the correct way. So you're gonna have to go ahead and go on esc-configurator.com. Then you're gonna go ahead and click connect. Go ahead and read the settings. It's gonna read your ESCs only. If your configurator is not connecting to your drone, that is because you have your transmitter on. Make sure that that transmitter is turned off when you're connecting to the configurator. So now, after the settings have been read, you want to go ahead and reverse whatever motor that needs to be reversed for it to be spinning correctly, props out. And as I mentioned, ESC3 is spinning the opposite way, and we actually want to reverse it right here. And you want to go ahead and after we click reverse, you want to right setting, let the configurator do its thing, and it's completely done. Now we should be good to go ahead and fly. Now that the drone is fully set up, not only hardware wise, but software wise as well, we're gonna go ahead and install the propellers and do a test hover just for you guys. Now remember, we did props out for this. So prop 1, 3, and the last prop. All right, now let's go ahead and test hover. Let's go ahead and grab a battery. Make sure to always turn on your radio first. Now, let me get the hell out of the way. when you guys see rubber bands in your kit, obviously these are going to be for your battery. So I'm going to grab your battery once you mount it on, just like that. And to fully secure this battery, go ahead and grab some rubber bands and give it a good little twist. There you go. We're going to provide a lot of rubber bands for you so you can keep on flying for as long as you can. So the reason why we use rubber bands is because they're super light and they're actually easily accessible. I have a lot of them at home, so if you do have some, you can use those as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this product. I know, again, this is a little bit rushed because a lot of you were really interested in this, so we were able to get this kit out, and we're trying to get it out as fast as we can. So hopefully you guys build yours, send us pictures, comment down below what you guys like, what you guys dislike, and what we can improve on. And if you do post this on Instagram, give us a tag and we'll repost your videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. Peace out, guys.